The pen tool can be quite a tricky tool to master, but it is useful over a number of different formats for creating vector-based shapes, assets, and logos, so it is well worth getting used to. While we're looking at that, both the pen tool and the shape tools, there are a few common things that we need to be aware of when we're creating logos. If we click on this little square or rectangle here, we'll notice that there are some options including new layer, combine, subtract, intersect, exclude, and the last one, which is merge shape components, which is grayed out. This will not be able to be used until we have multiple shapes that we can manipulate. I'm going to switch to my shape tool and select the ellipse tool for this next part. By default, new layer is selected, which means that if I drag and create a new shape, it will create it as a new layer in my layer panel. I'm going to delete that. If I select combine shapes and let's drag this over our object, it will combine that shape and will make it into one shape. If I select subtract, it will subtract it, and if I create further shapes with that selected, it will subtract from those as well. Let's undo those. Intersect shape areas, if I select that and create a new shape, will only allow me to show the area where those two shapes intersect. If I select exclude overlapping shapes, it will hide any area where these two shapes overlap. So all of these are extremely useful in creating specific logos and logo types and shapes and assets that we want that are vector based. For the most part, combining shapes and subtract are probably going to be the most useful. I'm going to select subtract shape, front shape, and I'm just going to create a little eye socket for this guy here. Now it's important to note that even though this is a single shape according to our layer panel, each of the components I've used to build this are actually separate. I can access these by going to my path selection tool, selecting on my layer, and I can actually select in between those shapes. So I can select that eye socket, for example, and move that wherever I like, or I can select the skull and move that. I can transform these directly by going Command T or Control T if you're on a PC, and I can rotate and scale, or I can even right click in the transformation mode and do some other options like distort or even warp, which allow me to do even further manipulations should I require them. I'm going to cancel those or apply them, but I'm going to cancel at the moment. So this allows us to look at the individual aspects and make adjustments within that. There is some constraint to this, however. I cannot change the stroke or the fill of individual parts inside this shape. So what if I want to add some areas that have some different color or even a different stroke? What we may need to do, if that's the case, is have a look at using clipping masks. So clipping masks are essentially areas that we can create things like painting or gradients or colors or strokes or shapes that are going to apply themselves but be confined to the shape below.